I began this course as I had begun other courses with some apprehension. Not knowing exactly what the course was about caused me some trepidation. I imagined that the course would probably be really well laid out like the other courses were, so I should do just as well in this course as I had done in other courses. So I decided to get started. The first unit introduced us to e-learning design and the various theories of learning to support e-learning design. We then looked at e-learning 2.0, that is, e-learning with a social component. At this point, I had a basic understanding of e-learning, but was unsure what this social component was all about. It would become clearer as I moved on through the course. In this unit, we looked at several new concepts that I had never heard of before. We learned about open educational resources and that repositories of resources exist. For me, I had no problem with creating open educational resources and sharing them, but I felt that these resources should be created when the course is developed by the Department of Education. Another topic that came up was the idea of copyright and Creative Commons licensing. I quickly realized that this was important, especially when you create educational resources to post online. I needed to familiarize myself with copyright laws, especially the fair dealing provision and Creative Commons licensing. Another activity was called the Teaching Perspective Inventory. My TPI showed me that nurturing and social reform scores were the lowest. I realized during this activity that this is something I needed to work on. Finally, I realized that learning styles are now considered to be a myth. This unit was certainly a learning experience for me. In Unit 2, we got into the meat of things. This was a long and tough unit that took quite a bit of time and effort on my part. While at times quite overwhelming, as I tried my hardest to assimilate all the information from the readings, it was a great learning experience for me. I got to learn some of the fine details about designing successful web-based learning activities. I learned that in order to create successful learning activities, I need to create a context that involves a situation that learners can relate to, and that an appropriate context can build motivation for learning. It was really interesting to learn that we need to make our contexts meaningful, memorable, and motivational. Again, this was somewhat of a steep learning curve for me. What did all this mean? After reading the class notes as well as the articles by Alan, it became a little clearer. I learned that meaningful, memorable, and motivational activities should be relatable to the students and that they should stimulate curiosity and interest. They should provide a challenge for students and provide intrinsic feedback. The use of a contextual story can accomplish these things. In this unit, I was challenged to create and share activities that were meaningful, memorable, and motivational for my subject area. After much reflection, I ended up modifying some coding activities. This was no easy task for me as I was still learning the fine details of how this was done. Unit 3 provided to be the biggest challenge for me. In this unit, we had to create an effective web-based learning experience for students in our context. I decided to focus on modifying a coding activity, but how would I do it? Participating in the unit discussions gave me an idea. I was particularly interested in discussions around gamified learning. I decided to make detailed notes from the video on gamification of learning in math and science from the previous unit. With these notes in hand and a coding activity I could modify, I began to try to incorporate gaming design into the activity. Students could form guilds of 2 or 3 students, pick their guild name, and collect experience points for completing quests. They could collect a coding spell after they completed a coding quest and an algebra sword after they completed an algebra quest. To provide extra motivation, students could complete challenges, quests created by other students. The use of gaming lexicon certainly made the whole experience more like a game, something that would be interesting and provide additional motivation. Completing this activity was a very worthwhile learning experience for me. It provided something useful that I could use with my students and a means to create other activities through gamification of learning. In Unit 4, we considered how to transition from face-to-face teaching to online facilitating. We discussed what an ideal facilitator would look like. After reading the article by Redmond and posts by other students, the transition from teaching face-to-face to facilitating online became clearer. The topic of teacher presence was not something I had considered before. When teaching face-to-face, students are aware of their teacher's presence, so this was new learning for me. After summarizing an article and reading the other students' posts, the idea of teacher presence became a lot clearer for me. I could now see the importance of this topic. During this unit, we also worked on this Pecha Kucha presentation. At first, I had no idea what a Pecha Kucha presentation was. I got the basic idea from the course syllabus and the 2 examples provided, but still I had some questions. So I researched it on the internet. In short order, I had all the answers I needed to begin the process, which was time-consuming for me. In Unit 5, the plan is to participate in 2 Pecha Kucha virtual micro-conferences. I think these will be fun. I also need to complete my self-reflection and finish my e-portfolio. It is coming along, but I find it time-consuming. After that, I need to work with my partner to finish our activity evaluation proposal. I am a little concerned with all these heavily weighted assessments so late in the course. In any case, I am sure we will get it all done on time. Hopefully I'll do well. Overall, this course has been a great learning experience. I have been a little apprehensive at times about getting the readings, activities, and assignments done on time, but it has worked out. I am finishing this course with some great ideas on how to incorporate e-learning into my math classes. This was my desired takeaway for this course.